All right, in Genesis 6, verse 1. We read, it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth. That takes us right back to the very first of this period here before the flood of Noah, 1656 years. Daughters were born to them. Verse 2, the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and took them wives of all they chose. Verse 4, there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after those days, after the flood, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men. The same bare children to them, they became mighty men, men of renown. Thus we have giants produced both before and after the flood by a union of sons of God and daughters of men. The expression sons of God is found only 5 times in your King James Version in the Old Testament, and it's referring to angels in every case. Like Job, for example, was in trouble one time. The devil came to present himself before the Lord, and Satan came to present him, or rather, as sons of God present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came to present himself before the Lord. See, there are sons of God, those were in heaven, not ordinary born-again men, angels. 2 times that happened. Prove they are angels and were angels. We have in the 38th chapter of Job, verses 4 to 7, where were you, Job, when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding, when all the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. You see, the sons of God were shouting when God laid the foundation of the earth, so they couldn't be sons of Adam or sons of Seth at all, could they? Then naturally, when we read 2 times here in Genesis 6, the sons of God saw the daughters of men, the sons of God produced races of giants by marrying the daughters of men, same kind of persons, angels. Angels did that. Now what for? What was the purpose of it? Well, the devil, in other words, Eve was promised deliverance through the seed of the woman. Man was to have his dominion restored by the seed of the woman, Eve's child, who was to be of a virgin without a human father. And that was the first promise of the coming Redeemer. Now the devil figured out, if I can get in on the ground floor when men begin to multiply and daughters are born, if I can marry those daughters of men, and we can keep men from contacting those women, marrying those women, we can do away with pure Adamite stock through whom the seed of the woman would come. We would avert our own doom. And that's what we read in the 6th chapter of Genesis, verses 8 to 10. We'll read, Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And he said, Noah, you only are the perfect one. Perfect one. And the word for perfect there is the Hebrew word tagma, which means bodily perfection and not moral. It refers to the sacrificial animals of the Old Testament, which had to be absolutely perfect stock. Telling Noah that his sons were the only pure Adamites left. Verse 11, that same chapter tells all the rest of the flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And giants filled the whole land instead of ordinary human stock. So the real purpose of the flood of Noah was to do away with those giant races and tell Noah to build a boat and get the boat finished and get all those pure Adamites in there. So Noah's sons were not godly. They were ungodly as all the rest of the men on the earth. But they could reproduce Adamite stock because they're pure stock. And so that was the real purpose of saving the sons of Noah and their wives. Then we read in the 4th verse again of the 6th chapter, giants in the earth in those days, also after those days, after the flood. Sons of God came in unto the daughters of men a second time. What happened? In the 8th chapter of Genesis, verses 20, 22, God swore that he'd never send another flood of waters on the earth again. I'll never do it. I've killed off everybody on the earth by the flood of Lucifer in Genesis 1, 2, and I've killed off everybody except Noah and his family in the second flood because of sin. I'm not going to do it that way anymore. He smelled a sweet Savior, we read, coming from the earth. He said, I'm going to never send another flood of waters as long as I live. And God's going to live a long time. So when the devil heard that, and he saw that he almost succeeded in doing away with pure Adamite stock before the flood. Now we'll try it again. So another group of fallen angels that originally fell with Lucifer came down in the earth after the flood of Noah and produced races of giants in the earth a second time. They are the ones mentioned throughout the books of Moses and the Psalms and the Proverbs and the book of Isaiah. Giants filling the whole earth. When the children of Israel came out of the land of Egypt, they find the Zanzamim, the Avim, the Horims, they found the Rephaim, they found the Anakims, they found all kinds of giant races. And when they reported back to Moses about spying when they spied in the land, They said, we are in their sight like grasshoppers. They're great big fellows. Og, his bedstead dimensions, a bedstead of iron. In the 3rd chapter of Deuteronomy is a bedstead 18.5 feet long and 8.5 feet wide. Just one giant, see. I don't know whether it's a baby bed or what. But anyway, that was quite a bed. Then Goliath, whom David slew. He was 13.5 feet tall. The coat of mail that protected his body weighed 196 pounds. His spearhead weighed 25 pounds. That was just an ordinary sized giant. Where'd they come from? Not because some ungodly woman happened to get her a Christian husband. How many of you have ever seen giants produced by a union of an unsaved man and a saved woman or man or vice versa? How many of you have ever seen one? If you know any of those fellows around the country, let me know, and I'll make a fair out of them. Like Josephus said in his days, when he said the angels of God appeared to men in the days following the flood and before the flood, angels he called them, and how they produced races of giants in the earth. And he said, to this day, and he lived right at the end of Christ's ministry, young man at that time. He said, at this very day, there are giant bodies exhibited in the different fairs around the country, just like you exhibit something in your fairs, you see. So that gives you the idea of the giant. Now, the 26th chapter of the book of Isaiah said, the dead have no resurrection. They have no resurrection. They are Rephaim. Rephaim is one of the most common of the giant tribes. And it said, they are Rephaim, they shall not rise. We could give you many others. Now, just to clinch all these arguments and show you the fact in the case, so we won't have to argue with ourselves when we go to sleep tonight. If you'll turn to the book of Jude, the book of Jude, verses 6 and 7. Verses 6 and 7, where it says, the angels, which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, or as did these angels. What did they do? Gave themselves over to fornication, went after strange flesh, lived contrary to nature, are set forth for the suffering of vengeance and eternal fire. 2 Peter 2:4, the angels that sin he hath cast down to hell, reserved them in chains under darkness, and so on. Well, see, the angels did commit fornication. That's in Jude 6 and 7, and you don't need to just keep yourself awake for the next 2 or 3 weeks trying to accept a simple fact like that. They said, well, it's all right with me if they live with the women, it's okay. Just don't bother your head about it. You say, I don't understand how that... Well, naturally you don't, because you don't know what angels are like. Angels have bodies like you have. They're persons. They have bodies, souls, and spirits, but they have spirit bodies. That's the only difference. They have bodily parts like you have, and they can marry the daughters of men, and they can produce races of giants. Nothing wrong with that. Moses said so. Jesus said so. Peter said so. The half-brother of Jesus Christ said so. Moses said so, and so it goes. They did commit fornication. That'll solve the whole problem, and then you can fit all these other things around that. We have over there on the table a red book called God's Plan for Man, 1,018 pages. Just literally crammed full of this information I'm passing on to you on the whole of the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation. And it'll give you a long story about those giant races.